Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Reflections of Remote Work During COVID-19, Success Stories and Lessons Learned from Maryland Businesses. This webinar is made possible by the Maryland Department of Transportation's Commuter Choice Maryland program. My name is Gladys Hurwitz, and I'm the Multimodal Transportation Specialist at the Maryland Department of Transportation, and will be the moderator for this webinar. This session is being recorded. Here's some quick webinar FAQs to keep in mind. Make sure that you chose either the computer or phone for your audio preference. Use the questions window to ask us a question. Feel free to type a question anytime. And if there's time, we will also make sure that we can address as many as we can. The recording of the session will be available along with slide decks on our website, commuterchoicemaryland.com. Look for polls throughout this presentation because we'll have them throughout to you. And also, please take some time to complete our short webinar feedback survey post-webinar. So for today's session, we're going to go ahead and start with some Commuter Choice Maryland information to share with you. We're also going to share some available resources and tools to help your business plan during and post-COVID-19. We're also going to take a closer look and share some partner and business highlights with you. And then we're going to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Peggy Yusko from AOPA, who will lead us in a presentation on best practices. Lastly, we'll end with some Q&A. Commuter Choice Maryland is the Maryland Department of Transportation's Transportation Demand Management Program that promotes alternatives to driving alone. Resources are also provided to commuters to help them discover the best commute options that meets their needs. Employer program services include information on how to get a commuter benefits program started or how to expand an existing commuter program. Marketing materials are also available for download to help convey commuter information to employees. We also provide technical assistance to participating employers who need help with commuter benefits, such as the Maryland Commuter Tax Credit and Transportation Fringe Benefits. All of these options are important because it helps Maryland reduce congestion, conserve energy, and improve the quality of life of all Marylanders. So we're going to go ahead and start with a poll. Does your workplace have any of the following in place? Do they have a remote work program, plan and policy? Do they provide subsidized transit fares? Do they subsidize the cost of van pools? Maybe there's a company-sponsored emergency ride home or a company-sponsored cash in lieu parking program. And the next couple of slides, I'll talk a little bit about some of these benefits that are available out there that we're finding a lot of our businesses in Maryland just don't know about, especially if you're providing a lot of these different resources. It's really important that you look into these available options to help you improve your bottom line and also help to reduce some of that commuter stress that a lot of your employees may be experiencing. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Looks like a lot of you have participated, and I thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you all. So it looks like the majority of you do have a remote work policy and plan in place at 86%. About half of you have shared that you do provide subsidized transit fares for your employees, which is great. And a small percentage of you have subsidized costs of van pool and also some cash in lieu and parking. All right, fabulous. Qualified transportation fringe benefits under Section 132F of the Internal Revenue Code, or commuter tax benefits, are like money in the bank. Employers save on payroll-related taxes, and employees save on federal income taxes. The qualified transportation fringe benefits has increased from $265 to $270 per month in 2020 for qualified transit, van pool, and parking expenses. Be sure to look into the transportation fringe benefit if you offer any of these services or are thinking about offering them to your employees. More information is available on our website, so make sure to check that out. The Maryland Commuter Tax Credit is another great way for everyone to save some money in their bank, where Marylanders can claim a tax credit of up to $100 per month per participating employee for qualified transit subsidies, van pools, company-sponsored guaranteed ride home programs, or cash in lieu parking cash out program. Be sure to check out more details regarding information for this great tax program on our website. Business toolkits have been developed to help businesses in Maryland who are thinking about starting up a van pool, telework program, or a commuter benefits program. All of these are available on our website too. And we also have these as an uploadable handout. So make sure to upload those PDFs directly on this webinar. Commuter Choice Maryland is seeking partners who are interested in being part of our business spotlights. Every quarter, Commuter Choice Maryland releases a newsletter that highlights businesses for their best practices, along with other great transportation-related information. Past business highlights have included the University of Maryland, Yakabad, Live Casino and Hotel, IOPA, Morgan State University, and SMECO. Be sure to reach out to us if you'd like to have your business featured next. Also, read more about these great stories on our website, commuterchoicemaryland.com. A lot of these webinars that you've participated in for the month of May are actually part of a special series on remote work. Webinars are usually offered on a quarterly basis. Past topics have included how to implement commuter options, getting started with commuter benefits, and how to have a bike and walk friendly workplace, among a list of other great transportation topics. All webinar recordings are also available on our website. Now I'd like to go ahead and do another poll with you all, just to get a sense of what topics would be of interest to you for future webinars. This is really important to us because we want to make sure that the information that we share in these webinars are pertinent or relevant to your interests. So go ahead and take some time and choose the best option that you think would be of interest to you. All right, looks like right now best practices are in the lead. Looks like how to implement and plan a commuter benefits program is also almost really up there. Give you guys a couple more seconds. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna close this poll and share the results with you all. So it looks like the majority of folks would really like to see best practices for Maryland businesses, followed by how to implement and plan a commuter benefits program. Those two topics have really been top of the list in terms of interest from our previous polls that we've shared in other webinars, followed by how to use available toolkits and more information on business tax credits. There is a small percentage of you that chose other, so feel free to reach out to us to let us know what those other topics are. And in our short feedback survey, there is a place there for you to go ahead and share what you think those other topics could be. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Ms. Peggy Yusko. Ms. Yusko has over 35 years of experience in human resources, benefits, and wellness. She is the Director of Benefits and Wellness at the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. With Ms. Yusko's leadership, IOPA has excelled and been recognized for the last 10 years as being one of the healthiest workplaces in Frederick County and the state of Maryland, which is a great thing to have achieved, with gold status being awarded in the last 4 years. In 2010 and 2018, IOPA was awarded the best place to work in Frederick County. In 2017, they were also Frederick's top 50 businesses. In 2019, they were considered the hometown business hero. Also in 2019, they won Commuter Connections Employer Recognition Award for the telework category. Welcome, Ms. Peggy Yusko. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Gladys, and I appreciate you asking me to present here today. Welcome to everybody who's virtual. My first slide is kind of off from the topic of what other slide presentations have looked like. Instead of introducing the company and my team, what I'd like to do is introduce first and foremost the program that I'm going to be talking about. This is important to me because it really dictates the rest of the presentation. And we are proud here to call that program Work-Life Balance. What it is we offer to our employees the opportunity, if their job description meets and business needs dictate, that they might be able to work a schedule that gives them personal balance and professional balance with working here at AOPA. Those schedules are remote worker, which is somebody that works full-time remotely outside of the office, teleworker, who is somebody that might work 1 day of pay period, teleworking from home, up to maybe 3 or 4 days a week teleworking from home. And then the last type of schedule that we offer here is alternative schedules, which could be a compressed work week, whereas you might work 9 days on and 1 day off, or even a flexible schedule. Maybe the organization's core hours are 8:30 to 5, but somebody would rather work 7:30 to 4. So that is what our work-life balance program looks like. So on the next slide, I'll give you a little bit of background in respect to AOPA. We have been in business for over 80 years now. We actually celebrated our 80th anniversary last year. Some of you might have had the opportunity to come out to the Frederick Airport. We put on a fly-in event, which we do across the United States about 3 to 5 times a year at different airports. And last year we had a big one here at Frederick for our 80th anniversary. Our mission is really to protect the freedom to fly, and we're a membership organization that has over 300,000 members. Those members can be general aviation pilots, commercial pilots, aircraft owners, and just aviation enthusiasts. We have about 240 employees, about 190 here at our Frederick campus, which is the corporate office, about 8 to 10 down on Capitol Hill who advocate for general pilots and the safety. And we have about 30 full-time remote workers. So next, I would just like to introduce the team that I work with. You saw a picture earlier. They were accepting the award for the Employer Recognition Award last year. Greg Cohen is Senior VP of Administration. Jessica Plowman, Manager Benefits Program. Casey Sanders is our HR Generalist, and Lakeisha Partman is the Senior HR Director. We work cohesively as a team. We wear many hats, but we all share in those responsibilities. And the one thing that we all do together is promote work-life balance. So next, what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background. Our program is about a decade old now. We started in 2010 with a team that was brought together from representatives from different departments within the organization. We sat down and came up with a pilot program for work-life balance, and we had employees who volunteered to telework, to do a compressed work week, to work flexible schedules, anything that we could think of. We had volunteers. That pilot program lasted about 3 months. And in 2011, we were proud to be deemed a successful project, and we could offer these work-life balance schedules to our employees. Throughout the years, we have enhanced the program different times, different ways, but just to highlight on a couple of those, in 2014, our Pilot Information Center, which is a call center, they are certified flight instructors, and they take calls from pilots all day long. And they were not working any type of work-life balance schedule. And what we noticed was they had a 3-year kind of turnover stat, whereas employees, new hires would come in, they would work within the Pilot Information Center, And then they would move on to bigger and better, whether it be throughout our organization or if they went on to a different type of career or job. So what we did is we implemented a program which had criteria. One of the criteria was you had to be within that department for 2 years, and if you met this criteria, then you could telework. So I'm pleased to say that the turnover has decreased immensely in that area since they are being able to telework from home. And then 2015, we offered space sharing within our corporate office. Any of our employees that come from the DC office will have a space here that is set up with any type of need that they have to be able to work within that area. If we have remote employees coming in, they have a workspace. So that was another benefit to the program. And then in 2018, we did a survey. It was a voluntary survey to all staff. What we wanted to do was measure our successes and our areas of improvement. So that was 2018. And next, in 2019, we were granted the Employer Recognition Award for telework. So the next slide has my team there again accepting the award. I was not present. I was on an Alaska cruise, so I had a good reason not to be present, but we were very proud to accept this award. And it was for the telework category. And actually, Commuter Connections, Matt Fisher is pictured from Commuter Connections within this picture. He helped us with the nomination. And they actually have 2 other awards that they give out each year too. One is for incentive, what your organization has done to incentivize employees to take alternative commuter options. The other award is for marketing, companies who educate and advocate for alternative commuter options. So I encourage you to log on to commuterconnections.org and find out if you might want to partake in the nomination process and maybe your organization be a winner of one of these 3 awards. Next, that takes me to my first poll, but the third poll of the day. And the question is whether or not your company offers any type of work-life balance schedule, remote, telework, what have you. Have you surveyed your employees to ask their interest level? And that's important because we want to gauge whether you have work-life balance in place now or whether you're going to probably look at it because of this COVID-19 pandemic. We ask you to go ahead and answer. I'll be interested to see what the results are here, and the stats will pop up in a second. But even if you don't offer work-life balance, you might be looking at that in the future. So it'd be good to gauge that interest level of your employees. So we'll just give it another second here and wait for those stats to pop up. And 56%, very good, have surveyed their employees, and 44% have said no. So what I would encourage you to do is look at my next couple slides and see why I feel it's important to survey. Here are some of the results from the survey that we offered to our employees back in 2018. So just a little bit over a year and a half ago. You can see the successes up there outnumbered the areas of improvement. The big area of improvement is what I'd like to focus on. That was manager buy-in. And our first course of action when we found out that that was a big area of improvement, that not all managers bought into this work-life balance types of schedules that we offered, our first course of action was to send out a manager's newsletter. Of course, we put in there all the successes that we heard from the employees, and we put in there the areas of improvement. And we wanted the managers to think more about being able to offer a type of work-life balance schedule. So on the next slide, we focus in on, what that buy-in is for managers. Maybe if their department does not have the business needs or can't meet the business needs of people being outside of the office, teleworking or working remotely, or they're not able to maybe offer a compressed work week or flexible schedule because they might have too many part-time employees there to cover anyway. So what we ask them to do is think outside of the box. Something as easy as a 30-minute lunch can give somebody work-life balance instead of an hour lunch. That employee can come in a half an hour later and maybe get their kids on the bus, or that employee can leave a half an hour early and get the kids off the bus. So we ask them to think outside of the box. We also ask them to evaluate the business needs and see if any type of schedule would be a viable option. We know that it's dependent upon criteria and the job makeup, and the job duties, and there are certain jobs that cannot just be worked, within a different schedule. But we did want to improve and make that an option for as many as employees as we can. So the next slide really takes you into items to consider. So those items are listed here. I'm going to run through them quickly, but we do have agreements that we have on file for anybody that's working any type of schedule. Now, there's the remote worker agreement and the telework agreement that are very similar, but these agreements have to be approved and reviewed and signed by the employee and the manager. And then we need the schedule outlined. If they're teleworking, what days of the week are they teleworking? We have sample schedules in this agreement so that, especially for non-exempt employees, if they're working 9 days on and 1 day off, we want to make sure that they're not working over 10 hours a day or 40 hours a week, because then that runs into the overtime. And then we have the option, whereas if somebody goes on a leave of absence, we ask them to revert back to a regular schedule just for ease of administration. So on the next slide, we give you a couple other items to consider. And those items are key in respect to ensuring that the request, that the people that are working remotely, that they're accessible. And nowadays we have so many tools, of course, with IT, and a lot of you are probably doing those types of things now. But we also have in that agreement the equipment needs, what the employee is supplying and what AOPA is supplying. We also talk about the protection of confidential information and how we have said about a safety checklist we have there too, which constitutes the employee having to fill out whether their workspace at home is conducive to a workplace safe environment. And then of course we talk about goals and expectations. So next, we want to do another poll in respect to many of you, after listening to these webinars, after hearing and seeing all the information that is out there about working remotely, especially due to the pandemic, how many of you are considering enhancing or implementing a work-life balance schedule for your employees? So go ahead and answer that. The stats will come up and we'll review those very quickly. I know we're getting a little bit low on time here, but I only have a couple more slides. And yes, once all those answers are in, we'll go back and see what you have answered, and hopefully the answer is going to be yes, especially during this pandemic period, and probably doing something in respect to the future with working from home or teleworking. So I don't see the stats coming up. There they come. Yes, 86%. Wow, that is great. That is absolutely great. And no 0%. I've not seen stats like that. So very good. And hopefully this presentation and the other ones that have been offered to you help you in respect to any type of needs that you have. I just want to go through the next couple slides. Strategies for success. These are well known, of course. Anybody that does offer work-life balance schedules, they have to make sure that the program works for the employee and or for the manager or the organization. The job has to be suitable. The person has to be able to work without direct supervision. You have to know the impact on your team and make sure that there's clear methods of communication. And then, of course, the deliverables. So the next slide actually gives you 6 tips for the benefits of the program and what that program does offer. And we've seen it here at AOPA. Employee morale, very positive in respect to work-life balance, increased productivity, loyalty, reduced absenteeism, and then retaining top talent and recruiting for that talent too. Back in 2010, when we started this program, you know, a lot of millennials were coming into the work environment and they wanted that flexibility. So it really pays off in the long run. And then the next slide just talks about individuals who are suited to work remotely. And this will be a takeaway for all of you. If you want to download the slides, they'll be available to you. But these are just 8 different attributes that constitute who is best suited. The next slide talks about challenges. And there are challenges that you have to plan for. Employees that aren't able to work remotely, there may be some resentment there, and you have to know how to handle that. And employees who disagree with the concept. They might think that everybody has to be in-house, one-on-one talking, or within a conference call or a meeting, that they all should be visible and not working remotely. So, and then of course you have to maintain strong communication between that person that's working remotely or teleworking and the staff that is on site, and make sure that you include everybody in those team meetings or team buildings when you can. And then of course somebody with that lacks direct supervision, be able to work from home. If somebody's knocking on the manager's door 5-6 times a day, you know, trying to get information, maybe they're not best suited to be able to work from home, but there are different tips and resources you can to work with those employees. And then making the business case. There's a couple different points up here that you can have as a takeaway. There are always things to make the business case in respect to the employee being able to work from home, and also in respect to the organization adapting those types of programs and promoting those types of programs to the employees. And my last slide here gives you the most important business case. And that is, if you look at the 3rd bullet point here, AOPA eliminated more than 355,000 commute miles and saved 18,000 gallons of gas in 2018. So if that doesn't make the business case for telework or remote working, I don't know what does. So Gladys, I'll turn it back over to you. I know we're short on time, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Peggy. That was really fabulous insight that you've provided us today. We do have some time for some questions, and if we go over a couple minutes, folks who want to stay on, we'll stay on. So let's see. Looks like there are a couple folks who sent in questions beforehand. Somebody was interested in seeing a sample of the remote work agreement that you provide to your employees. I understand that you're not able to provide actual samples to them, but could you maybe give some main highlights to some of the content in those agreements?
Sure. Basically, we spell out what the agreement entails and means for the employee, what the equipment needs are, safety issues, protection of confidential information, what type of schedule they're going to be working, and you know, the goals. We have an area there for the goals to be written out, the expectations, so that this employee, you know, knows what they need to do in order to get the job done and prove themselves a viable candidate to work remotely or telework. And we also give the managers the opportunity to have a trial period, which is spelled out on the agreement too, that maybe 90 days, you know, they can see with the employee, is it a good match for the employee, and is it a good match for the manager and the business needs?
Okay, great. Does AOPA manage their own van pools and carpools? And if so, what assistance do you provide to your employees for these commute options?
Well, we do offer the federal transit subsidy to our DC employees. They work down there on Capitol Hill, and as I mentioned, there's about 8 to 10 working down there. Here at the Frederick campus, the majority of the employees work within the Frederick County area. We have free parking here. And when we were doing this a presentation to our leadership team to promote work-life balance and those viable options. We had Matt from the Commuter Connections come out and help us, promote the program. And we did offer a van and carpooling information for our employees, but most of them didn't need it because if they are working away from the office or they do commute, they usually telecommute a couple days a week. So there wasn't a need for that type of pooling.
Great. And you may have touched on this a little bit during your presentation, but I think it's really interesting how your organization determines which employees are best suited for remote work. Can you provide more details regarding that? Is there some type of software that you use to help assist you with that determination?
No, we don't use any software actually. We promote this program. It's been in place for about 10 years now. We give manager tips and resources. Some of our jobs, actually, the person is hired in to work remotely full-time. We have 7 regional managers across the United States that each split up the states in promoting general aviation. So they're working remotely full-time. And we've actually been able to help employees that maybe their spouses get transferred to another state and they want to stay with AOPA. We've been able to work with the employee to have them work remotely full-time, but no software involved. It's more just training soft skills, looking at productivity and the employee's performance.
Great. And then lastly, what additional insight can you give businesses who are thinking about offering remote work post-COVID-19 on a regular basis who did not do that before the pandemic? What is the business case for providing this option?
Well, post-COVID-19, we struggled with it, and that's why we did the survey. And that survey really came back and made us proud in respect to those successes. And we worked on that area of improvement for the managers' buy-in. And that has helped us. So for the year and a half, we have been promoting the managers' buy-in. Now, within this pandemic, the business case really might move forward. 98% of our workforce are working from home right now. That is absolutely phenomenal that we have that many employees that can work from home. To state the business case, once we start phasing in and start coming back to the work, I think it's going to be more or less for organizations looking at what they did during COVID-19 and what they can do post-COVID-19. And it might be a new norm.
Great. That's all the questions that we had today, Ms. Peggy. We really appreciate your time today. Fabulous presentation. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending today's webinar. Due to popular demand, we are providing one more bonus webinar session. More information will be shared on our website and emailed to you all. Our office remains virtually open during this pandemic, so please feel free to call us and leave a voicemail or email if you have any questions or need assistance. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we will be sure to follow back. Also, please take our webinar feedback survey that will pop up at the end of the session. Stay safe and well. Thank you.